My work experience before I came to LCLE was pretty varied and I think a bit unusual. When I talk to my students about what I've done, their eyes sort of get big. But so what I did was I'm a trifecta IU graduate. I have an undergrad, a master's, and a PhD from IU, and then also 2 other master's degrees from other universities. But I counted up the other day, I've spent a decade literally as a student at IU, and it's been a really wonderful, wonderful experience. My first experience was as an opera major. And so that was really, really fun and amazing experience. And then when I graduated, I sang for 5 years as an opera singer. And then after that, I also got a business degree while I was here with the opera. And so I opened a small business, and I did that for 10 years. That seems like another lifetime. And then after that, I got my teaching degree and my principal's license, because that's kind of always what I really wanted to do. But anyway, I went back to get that, and then I taught in the elementary and middle levels for 10 years, language arts, which was a great, lot of fun, and I'm so glad I did it now because it really benefited me in the PhD program. For example, even while I was talking about theory and learning about the theory of education, having been in the classroom for 10 years really brought a nice life experience. And I found that as I taught for the LCLE department, the undergraduates and graduate students took me maybe a little bit more seriously or more as a bit more authentic because I'd actually done it. Yeah. I feel really is a bit of a miracle that I ended up here because I considered going many places, and I'd already been to IU twice, so I thought, well, maybe I should go somewhere different. But it's about 2 hours from my home, so I decided, no, this is where I want to go. I ended up having a roommate here because I spent anywhere between 4 nights a week here and 1 to 1 night a week here, depending on the coursework and the teaching load for the semester. And so I met a wonderful woman from Kuwait, a Muslim woman, and we ended up living together as roommates when I was in Bloomington for 4 years, which was really such a gift. So when people ask me what I have my PhD in, I say, well, I have it in literacy and I have it in culture. And I almost mean it, while the name of our department is literacy, culture, and language education, I almost feel like I have 2 separate PhDs. It was such extensive experience in both areas. But so highlights, I would say we have a very strong department in terms of leadership. Dr. D'Amico is really efficient, really fair, really available. So that's a really big plus. The staff is pretty unbelievable, the faculty. So, you know, when we're reading articles in our classes, many of the authors of the articles are on our staff and you're sitting next to them, or you could go into their office and speak with them. So that's really exciting to know the people that are really in the forefront of our field. Very inspiring. I would say another of my highlights would have been the opportunity. You know, the world comes to IU to be educated. It's really unbelievable. When I was here in the 1980s, the international population was not nearly as big. Today, to me, it's just a tremendous gift. You come to class and literally you feel like you're sitting at a world conference. I'll never forget my first PhD class at IU. It was in a classroom, there were about 30 of us, which was quite a large class for PhD. It was sort of an introductory class. And our sitting around this table was absolutely very bright minds from all around the world. It was, I remember thinking, I made the right choice. I am in the right place. It was so exciting to be sitting with so many brilliant people, so many experienced people with all the same sort of interests, linguistics, literacy. The conversations we had were really mind-boggling. And I knew right away that this was the right place for me. Being a Hoosier from Indiana, I lived in Germany for 5 years when I was young. I have traveled quite a bit, but having said that, I have never been to the Asian countries, I've never been to the Middle East, and so to be able to sit in class and make really good friends with people from the Asian countries and Middle East and really all over the world, such a privilege, such a gift. You know, so it was as if I could my director, Serafine Cornell, he is very much into the type of research that I love, ethnography, and so it's been just an amazing experience to learn from him about ethnography. I really, really enjoyed that research. method and methodology, and he and I are actually writing a book right now on the methodology of classroom ethnography and critical ethnography. So what an experience to be able to come to school, make such a really great friendship with such a special, well-educated, brilliant man, and then be able to be co-authors on a book. It's very exciting. Right. So I finished my dissertation in December, which was an experience for sure. And so now I'm teaching 4 classes this semester, which I have found is a lot. And so my writing time is not as big as I would like at the moment. I'm going to be writing a lot this summer and next year. But I really love teaching. I found that I absolutely love teaching. I also love doing research, but I really, really enjoy the experience with undergraduates and graduate students. So this semester I'm teaching sort of a varied mix. I have a methods class on teaching reading and writing at the K to 3 level and then the 4 to 6 level. I have a history and philosophy of education class, which I really am enjoying. And then maybe one of my favorite classes is a circumstance where I have a very international student classroom as they want to learn about teaching reading in diverse circumstances. So, for example, if you have many L1s, many first language speakers in different languages than English, and then you have many cultures and faiths, how do you teach reading at the different levels in those circumstances? It's very challenging. And pre-service undergraduate educators are really nervous about that because that's the reality in America today. And I say yay for that. I think, for me, more culture is better educated because that's the world that we live in today. So I think we need to prepare our pre-service educators to be ready and capable and have self-efficacy to teach in those circumstances. So I really enjoy teaching about that and how that can be done well with excitement instead of, oh my gosh, I'm not sure how to do this. The other thing I'm doing is I'm breaking my dissertation down into 3 articles. And so I wrote on students who struggle academically. In other words, students who had plenty good GPA to get into college, had great standardized test scores, and yet when they get here, they end up on academic probation by the end of the first semester or the first year. It's a national problem, a very serious national problem. At this university, we have 700 of every 7,000 students on academic probation by the end of the first semester for the past 4 decades. So it's a really consistent problem, and I was always really curious why. I have a heart for people who struggle a bit, so I'm always really interested in, it's not a brain problem, it's not an intelligence problem, it's a lot of other things. And so I studied that for 3 years, was in the academic probation classrooms for 3 years, and interviewed and did an ethnography on that. Very, very interesting. So my next step on that is I want to look at what impact specifically does literacy have on academic probation. And then another piece of that I'm interested in is what is the impact of gender on academic probation? Because I got some data in my dissertation that sort of pointed a big arrow that way, that this needs to be looked at more. So that's some things that I'm working on at the moment.